Hello and assalamu alaikum. I hope you people are doing great. Welcome to the second video. Today's topic is all about the alkali metals. And without wasting any further time, let's get started. So we were doing periodic table and alkali metals, right? So here we have alkali metals. As you all know that alkali metals belongs to group 1, right? So this is group 1 and they basically are called as alkali metals, right? So अब इनके अंदर कौन कौन से metals आ जाते हैं? As you all are familiar, we have lithium, sodium, potassium, rubidium, cesium and francium. ठीक है, तो ये सारे के सारे they are called as alkali metals, right? So you should know that why do we call them alkali metals? There's a reason, because they form alkalis, right? They form alkalis. ठीक है, when they react with water. ठीक है, so alkalis are the hydroxides of metal. Okay, hydroxides of metal. So alkali metals react with water to form alkalis, right? And they also produce hydrogen gas. So let's study their properties first of all. Like, what are the properties that we have to study? Alright, so alkali metals are quite different from typical metals. ठीक है, जैसे आपको पता होता है. So they are quite soft. The first thing you should remember about them, that they are very soft. They can easily cut with knife. You can cut them with knife. ठीक है, for example, you have a piece of sodium over here, right? तो आप इसको easily knife से cut कर सकते हो. You can break it down into 2 parts. ठीक है. Then there are shiny and silvery solids. Shiny होते हैं, this is basically their appearance. ठीक है, आपको पता होना चाहिए. अच्छा, in Cambridge जब भी आपसे whenever examiner questions you about the appearance, ठीक है, ठीक है, so just remember 2 things, right? Examiner is asking you about the color and state. ठीक है, so what is the color? Color basically is like silvery and state solids. ठीक है, so these things should be very clear. So अब इनका कैसा color होता है? What is their appearance? Basically that is silvery and shiny solids. ठीक है, so they are very reactive in nature. ठीक है, as compared to the other metals, right? And this basically in the oxidation, the cut surface very quickly. So if you cut the surface, so it gets oxidized very quickly. Okay, so this is the reason they are stored under oil, right? So we store them. They are stored under oil, right? Because they are quite reactive in nature, और जब भी ये when they are exposed to air or moisture, they cause a very violent reaction. ठीक है, इस तरह से हम इनको store करते हैं. Then the third thing you should remember about their properties, they have low densities. इनकी densities बहुत ज़्यादा कम होती हैं. Usually most of them have less than 1. ठीक है, so they float on water. और rubidium and cesium have the valences, more than 1. ठीक है, so this thing should be very clear. So lithium, sodium and potassium can float on water, right? So they have very less densities. Okay, so and what is the general trend of the densities? ठीक है, trends तो आप लोगों ने याद रखने हैं. Trends should be very clear. ठीक है, in exam they may give you a question which is based on filling of tables. ठीक है, also, and they miss the information के predict what will be the density of let's say sodium by giving all the other values. तो sodium की आपने predict करनी होगी, potassium की predict करनी होगी. So you have to predict the values based on the trends के ऊपर से नीचे कम हो रही है, so it should be between these 2 values. ठीक है, furthermore I can clarify how you can get the exact value, ठीक है, of that in the upcoming questions. Then the fourth property, which is quite different from the transition metals, is that they have low melting and boiling points. ठीक है, इनका जो melting और boiling point होता है, that is pretty much lower as compared to the other metals. ठीक है, so and the melting point really decreases down the group. So because it decreases down the group. The melting point decreases down the group, right? All right, here we have a question which I have already answered, okay, for your convenience. So why melting at the boiling point of alkali metals decrease down the group? ठीक है, अब इसकी reason, it's very important for you to understand the reason. ठीक है, कि what is the possible reason? ठीक है, so the reason is, as you see, when we're going down the group, let's say we have lithium, sodium, potassium. For instance, I'm just giving you a basic example. ठीक है, let's say lithium is having very small size. Okay, this is the size of lithium and with 1 electron. This is the size of, let's say, sodium with the outermost shell, 1 electron, and here we have potassium, right, with the outermost shell. So as you know that the size of the atom is, what is happening to the size of the atom along the group? It is increasing. It is increasing, right? So size of the atom is increasing along the group, and you know that there is going to be the weaker attraction between the nucleus and the valence electron, or you can rather say the delocalized electrons. Okay, so when there is weaker attraction between the nucleus and the delocalized electron, then ultimately it will result in lower melting and boiling point. ठीक है, तो आपको पता होना चाहिए कि the force of attraction between the nucleus and the delocalized electron decreases down the group. ठीक है, so force of attraction, as it I've already mentioned in the answer section, between nucleus and delocalized electron, ठीक है, decreases. ठीक है, so their melting point decreases. ठीक है, less amount of heat energy is required to overcome this weak force of attraction. ठीक है, but in the other metals you know that there is a strong electrostatic forces of attraction. ठीक है, जो हमारे typical metals होते हैं, typical metals, ठीक है, they have strong electrostatic forces of attractions. ठीक है, you should be very very clear about the differences between these two. ठीक है, अब इनमें and the other alkali metals, they are having a difference, ठीक है, in the melting and the boiling points basically, right? So if you study the trend over here, you see that the lithium is having a 180, then we have sodium 98, 64, rubidium is having, let's say, 39, and this one is having cesium is 29, right? So it is decreasing down the group. Why it is decreasing? Size of the atom is increasing, the force of attraction between the nucleus and the delocalized electron is decreasing. ठीक है, it's getting weaker, right? Electrons result in a weaker metallic bond, so their metallic bonding gets weaker, right? So melting point decreases down the group. Okay, yes, very very important thing. Here we have some of the reactions of the alkali metals. ठीक है, I want you to please pay a very good attention at this. ये बहुत बहुत ज़रूरी है, बहुत important है. ठीक है, so make sure you pay a very good attention at the reactions, right? Now, alkali metals are very reactive in nature. This is what I've already told you, that they're quite reactive. On going down the group, their reactivity increases. Here we have another trend. Please highlight the trend. When you're taking notes, तो कोशिश करेंगे trends को आप लोग highlight करने. Okay? So reactivity is increasing. Right? So here is the order of the reactivity. Like we have the lithium, which is least reactive, then sodium, potassium, rubidium, cesium, and francium. This is the reactivity, right? So what do you think would be the reason कि reactivity इनकी क्यों नीचे को increase हो रही है? Why is it increasing? Size of the atom increases down the group, as already mentioned, which leads to increase in the distance between the nucleus and the valence shell electrons. Hence, it will be easy to lose the valence shell electrons. So when an atom is having a bigger size, let's say the atom is far away, the electron is far away from the nucleus, right? So there is going to be weaker right? There is going to be the weaker force of attraction. Okay, so it would be easy to lose electron. Okay, I'm repeating it again. The greater the size, it would be more easy to lose electron because there is a weaker force of attraction between the nucleus and the valence shell electron, जिसकी वजह से वो ज़्यादा reactive consider होता है, right? So ये comparison usually आपसे एग्जाम में पूछा जाएगा कि reactivity अगर increase हो रही है तो क्यों increase हो रही है, which one is more reactive. They will give you different elements. They can give you a simple comparison. We have potassium and rubidium. Okay, which one is more reactive and why? Give reason. Okay, so it should be very much clear to everyone. You should be considering periodic table for this. ठीक है, आपने देखना है कि ऊपर top पे कौन है, नीचे कौन है. On going down the group, reactivity is increasing, so rubidium will be more reactive. Why it is more reactive? Because bigger size इसका बड़ा होता है, bigger size होता है, and when it is having a bigger size, the distance between the nucleus and the valence shell electron increases, right? Which leads to an easy for an atom to donate electron, right? Now we have the next thing you need to consider as we're doing reactions. So reaction with the oxygen, first of all, let's consider these. Alkali metals tarnish easily in air by reacting with the oxygen in the air. So they react with the oxygen in the air, right? And they form oxides. So they are stored under oil to prevent this reaction. So in as I told you earlier, we have to store them under the oils, right? So the equation, learn to write down the equation first of all. सबसे पहले sodium, let's say we have sodium plus oxygen, right? And they will react together to produce sodium oxide. Okay, ठीक है? So this should be very very clear. अब कैसे इसको लिखते हैं, right? We have sodium Na. Metals are solid in nature, तो आप state symbol क्या लिखोगे इसके साथ? Solid. ठीक है? Plus oxygen. Oxygen is a gas, and gas, most of the gases, I'm not saying all, most of the gases are diatomic. For example, we have oxygen, we have hydrogen, we have chlorine, we have nitrogen. So these gases are usually diatomic in nature. तो जब भी आप इनको लिखोगे अपने equations के अंदर, you have to write them as two atoms, O2, H2, Cl2, N2, etc. ठीक है? And apart from this, all the halogens are diatomic. सारे के सारे halogens जो होते हैं, they are basically diatomic in nature. ठीक है? So sodium Na, we have sodium. Let me change the color of the pen for you, that way it will be easy to differentiate what I have written. ठीक है? So sodium solid plus oxygen gas, which is O2, अभी हमने देखा, it's a gas in nature, and they will react together to produce sodium oxide. Now here you have to take a pause and you have to generate a formula of sodium oxide. कैसे लिख सकते हो आप? Check the valences first of all. Sodium belongs to group 1, it will having a charge of +1, and oxygen belongs to group 6, will be having a charge of -2. Do not consider this 2. ठीक है? इसको हम बाद में डिस्कस करेंगे, right? ठीक है? So sodium, let's interchange their valences. Sodium will be here and this will be here, but we do not write one as per the rule, so we're getting Na2O, sodium oxide, which is solid in nature. ठीक है? All right, are we clear? Now let's balance this. We have 2 sodiums on the right side and we have 1 sodium on the left side. So let me write down 2 over here. ठीक है? Just to make you people understand, मैंने 2 यहाँ पे लिख दिया, 2 यहाँ पे लिख दिया. Sodiums are balanced. Now let's take a look at oxygen. We have oxygen, 2 oxygens on the left side and 1 oxygen on the right side. ठीक है? Now there's mismatch, unbalance. So let me balance this. I have to write down 2 over here. मैंने 2 लिखा यहाँ पे. So I have 2 oxygens and 2 oxygens over here. Oxygen is balanced. Let's take an example of the sodium. We have 4 sodiums on the right side and we have 2 sodiums, right? So let me correct this. I'm going to write down 4 over here in order to get my equation. Okay? So make sure you write down the balanced chemical equation. ठीक है? आपने एग्जाम में balanced equation देनी होती है. ठीक है? With state symbols. Are we clear with this? All right, let's move on to the next part. Reactions of alkali metals. Asha, one more thing. Whenever you are reacting them with the water, just remember that alkali metals react with water to produce two things. Okay? Two things, right? Alkali metal, you can first of all write down the general equation ताकि आपके लिए understanding develop हो जाए उसकी. Let's say we have reaction with water. ठीक है, we have alkali metal. Choose any alkali metal. Okay, alkali metal plus water. ठीक है, so two things will be produced. One is metal hydroxide and what else? Hydrogen gas. ठीक है, so let's write down the chemical equation now for this. ठीक है, कैसे लिख सकते हैं हम chemical equation को? Very simple. Okay, so alkali metal, let's say we have alkali metal. I've chosen, let's say, sodium for instance. Okay, sodium which is solid, water is a liquid, H2O, it's a liquid, and it is going to produce two things. Metal hydroxide, okay, we'll make its formula, and we have hydrogen gas which is H2 gas. Right, now metal hydroxide, ठीक है, यहाँ पे आ जाते हैं. Let's do a little rough work over here. OH -1. Okay, this is polyatomic ion. ठीक है, and its name is hydroxide. इसे बोलते हैं हाइड्रोक्साइड. ओके, ठीक है, सो मेक श्योर कि आपको इसका फॉर्मूला आना चाहिए. ठीक है, दिस इज गोइंग टू बी a polyatomic ion, OH negative. Right, so whenever you have hydroxide ion and you're reacting with the metal which belongs to group 1, we have sodium Na +1, OH -1, so the signs will be cancelled. We're getting NaOH, right? So NaOH is the sodium hydroxide. So let me write down sodium hydroxide over here, NaOH. And all hydroxides, most of the hydroxides really, they are water soluble. Group 1 की सारी they are soluble in water, aqueous. ठीक है, ये आपने सारा aqueous इसके mention करना है. ठीक है, so if you balance it correctly, you will be writing down 2 over here and 2 over here. So it will be balanced. Okay, so let's have a glance at this. We have first of all we have a reaction of alkali metal. For the first one is lithium, right? It reacts quickly with the water. You should be remembering the observations as well, क्योंकि exam में question भी आपको आएगा for 2 marks really. They ask कि write down the observations of reaction. ठीक है, so make sure that you should remember the observations. Going down the group, reactivity is increasing. ठीक है, so reactivity जो है is increasing. ठीक है, so ये आपको पता होना चाहिए. Okay, so we have the lithium. First of all, देखिए शाबाश, lithium कैसे react कर रहा है? Lithium plus water getting lithium hydroxide and hydrogen gas. ठीक है, so after you balance it correctly, तो यहाँ पे भी 2 आ जाएगा, यहाँ पे भी, right? ठीक है, मैंने यहाँ पे 2 शायद मिस कर दिया, miss 2 here. Okay, so we have sodium. Sodium reacts rapidly with the water. Remember difference देखो आगे, यहाँ पे the word is quickly, here the word is rapidly. ठीक है, the reaction is getting more intense when you go down the group. It will get more violent even if after potassium it will go more violent. ठीक है, may be explosive. ठीक है, so sodium melts into silvery ball. Now these are the observations that you should be remembering. It melts into silvery ball darts around the water surface. Dart means floats. It floats. ठीक है, floats around water. ठीक है, the hydrogen gas is produced which burns with the yellow flame. So flame of sodium is yellow. Point to be noted. Okay, sodium burns with a yellow flame. So equation is quite simple. Sodium plus water, and we are getting sodium hydroxide plus hydrogen gas. Okay, Then the third one, potassium, quite similar, reacts violently with the water, only the word changes from rapidly to violently, melts into silvery ball, darts around because its density is less than water, right? Catches fire, ठीक है, आग लग जाती है, then explodes, धमाका हो जाता है. Hydrogen gas produced burns with a lilac flame, ठीक है. Remember the flame color. Sodium is yellow and potassium is lilac flame, ठीक है. Equation is quite simple, like potassium plus water, and we are getting potassium hydroxide and hydrogen gas, ठीक है. Balance it correctly, put 2 and 2 here, right? The equation is balanced now, ठीक है. So let's move on to the next reaction. अब तक हमने कितने reactions पढ़ ली हैं? We've studied 3 reactions: reaction with the oxygen, reaction with water, and now we have reaction with the halogens. Okay, so alkali metals basically react with the halogens to form ionic compounds, ठीक है. So sodium plus chlorine, we're getting sodium chloride, ठीक है. अब यहाँ पे भी आपने चार्जेस कंसिडर करना है, ठीक है. हैलोजेंस कौन कौन से होते हैं? We have 7 group 7 हैलोजेंस, ठीक है. फ्लोरीन, क्लोरीन, ब्रोमीन, आयोडीन एंड एस्टेटीन, ठीक है. ये सारे के सारे they are halogens. They have 7 electrons in their outermost shell. They will gain 1 electron, ठीक है, ठीक है. So they will gain 1 electron, ठीक है, and as a result their ions will be having a charge of -1, ठीक है, -1. And alkali metals will be having a charge of +1. We have lithium, sodium, potassium, rubidium, cesium and francium. All of these metals will be having a charge of +1, ठीक है. So let's write down the equation. Sodium chlorine से मिलेगा, what will it form? Like sodium and chlorine. Chlorine again is a diatomic gas, so आपने इसको Cl2 ही लिखना है. Sodium chloride, take a pause, make a formula. Sodium belongs to group 1, +1, Cl -1, +1 is cancelled with -1, and we are getting NaCl, okay? Right? Then afterwards you have to balance it correctly. So I'll be making another video on balancing explicitly, okay? Alright, now you can pause the video and attempt these questions by yourself. आप खुद से इन questions को attempt करोगे भी. Once you're done, you can take help, resume the video and take help from here. Okay, question number 1 says that which statement explain why the chemical properties of sodium and potassium are similar, ठीक है. So similar chemical properties होने का क्या मतलब है? That they have same number of वैलेंस इलेक्ट्रॉन्स, ठीक है. ये एक तो ये बात होती है, और दूसरी बात कौन सी होती है? व्हाट इज द सेकंड थिंग? दैट देयर ग्रुप नंबर शुड बी द सेम. दे हैव द सेम वैलेंस इलेक्ट्रॉन्स ओनली इफ दे बिलोंग टू द सेम ग्रुप, ठीक है. सो लेट्स कंसीडर ऑल द ऑप्शंस. दे आर इन द सेम ग्रुप ऑफ द टेबल. They are in the same period of the table? Of course, no. They are soft and can easily be cut with a knife? No. These are physical properties and they have nothing to do with that of the chemical properties. And they have similar melting points? No. So what is the correct answer? A. ठीक है? The second question, which element in the table is alkali metal? How can you predict it? ये कैसे? देखो, see, you have to predict it from the data, right? So alkali metals हम कहते हैं कि they have low melting and boiling points, ठीक है, as compared to other metals, ठीक है. So usually boiling points, we consider boiling points, so I'm going to raise the melting points, I'm going to raise the boiling points, ठीक है. तो melting points का ज़्यादा trend भी है हमारे पास, तो it should be clear, ठीक है. And density is usually less than 1 consider होती है, right? So the option A, let's consider option A. The melting point is a negative value. तो minus में usually melting point होता है gases का, ठीक है. So density, whatever would be the density, this is not correct, ठीक है. Same goes for B, again it's negative value, no. Then we have the option C and D. ठीक है, D is having very high melting point. ठीक है, and I said that the alkali metals have low melting and boiling points, so the correct answer is C over here. ठीक है, so once again you can just pause the video, try to do these questions by yourself in order to have a better understanding of what we have just studied. Okay, all right, next we have is some other questions. Try it yourself again. Make sure you pause the video and do these questions by yourself. Okay, potassium is a group 1 metal. It reacts with water to produce alkali and a gas. All right, write down the balanced chemical equation which include the state symbols. Okay, write down the balanced chemical equation. Potassium, okay, we have K, which is solid, plus water, which is liquid, and they will react together to produce potassium hydroxide, aqueous, and hydrogen gas. Okay, so let's balance this equation. Balancing के लिए what is the rule? अभी क्या देखा था? If you balance it correctly, you will get the these coefficients and numbers over here, right? Write down the two observations of the reactions. ठीक है, so you can write down the observations. ठीक है, for 2 marks. क्या कहते हैं बताएं शाबाश. सबसे पहले पोटेशियम की बात हो रही है, reacts violently, ठीक है, turns into silvery ball, ठीक है, darts, you can say floats on water, right, catches fire, ठीक है, and explodes. ठीक है, you can also write produces hydrogen gas. ठीक है, so make sure you are quite clear with this, you know how to respond to such questions. ठीक है, now the C part, how will you identify the gas produced as a result of the reaction? Okay, so you see we're saying here that the hydrogen gas is produced, right? So this is basically they're asking about the test and result of the hydrogen gas. Okay, so you might be studying this in the junior classes as well, that the test is you can test it by a lighted splint, or you can write down let's say bring lighted splint, ठीक है, near the gas, ठीक है, or near the test tube from where it is being produced if you're doing reaction in a test tube, ठीक है, and what is the result? Result, you can write it down over here that it produces pop sound. Okay, ठीक है, it is quite flammable, so it burns with pop sound. Okay.